We've been warning on the program for a while that Democrats risk irrelevancy. And this week proved them irrelevant. Chuck Schumer could have held his entire caucus together and actually gotten something from Republicans. He couldn't do that. The phrase, "what would Bill Maher say?" could and should serve as a roadmap for Democrats out of the wilderness. Will they take it? For that, we begin with an incredible panel. Anna Kasparian, host of The Young Turks, former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner, both we are lucky to have. Anna, going to start with you.
In American politics, Bill Maher is a controversial figure. He is known for speaking his mind and not caring about criticism. Maher has been critical of the Democratic Party, especially Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. He says the party is becoming too extreme and is losing touch with regular people. While Schumer tries to keep his party together and get small wins from Republicans, Maher's criticism is getting attention. He believes Democrats have stopped focusing on working class people and instead are pushing issues that only interest wealthy, progressive groups. This problem goes beyond just Maher and Schumer. It shows a bigger issue within the Democratic Party. People are wondering if the party has forgotten about everyday Americans. Are they more focused on pleasing elites than dealing with real problems? Or is Maher missing the point by ignoring the frustrations of regular voters who feel the system isn't fair? The big question is, can Democrats become relevant again by focusing on the economic struggles of the people who used to support them? Or will they continue to focus on cultural issues that don't help them politically?
What would Bill Maher say? Good organizing principle or not?
I think he's right on some of the cultural stances that the Democratic Party has decided to lean into, some of the more extreme ideas, including, some of the policies that they want to champion in regard to transgender women in sex-segregated spaces, pretending as though they don't know the difference between gender and sex, which are obviously two different things. Biology does matter. At the same time, I think that the framing of this conversation is incorrect and actually incredibly frustrating because what the Democratic Party has been doing incorrectly for a long time now is they have become increasingly the pro-corporate party that really has nothing to offer to the American people. They used to want to champion better health care. They've moved off that message, and instead they've leaned into more extreme cultural matters that turn a lot of Americans off, and they continue to double down on those stances. So either they're going to listen to their base and what their base wants, or they're going to continue doubling down on the wrong policies. And
I'm going to bring you in here in a minute, but I think you bring up a really important point about their base. Because their base used to be working class, paycheck to paycheck voters, white union men. Have they left their base, or has their base left them? And their base, the Democratic base, is now credentialed progressive elitists who care about cultural issues, not about the economy.
There's growing talk that the Democratic Party is becoming irrelevant. And honestly, it's starting to feel more like a reality than just an opinion. Sure, they technically control the Senate, but Chuck Schumer can't even keep his own party together long enough to get anything done. It's like watching a team constantly mess up when they're almost at the finish line. The GOP doesn't even need to try hard when Democrats are busy messing things up on their own. But this isn't just about failed votes or weak deals. It points to a bigger problem. What does the party even stand for anymore? Are they still fighting for working-class Americans with things like better wages and health care? Or are they caught up in cultural issues that don't matter to their old supporters? Voters can see it. They see the fighting, the indecision, and the inability to push back against Republican pressure. It gives the impression of no clear direction or strength. If they can't even manage their own party, why should anyone trust them to lead the country? As a viewer, it's tiring. As a vlogger, it's worse. Because when a party loses its way like this, it's not just about losing elections. It's about disappearing from the conversation entirely.
What's happened in this past election, the presidential election in particular, is the working class Americans who typically would vote for the Democratic Party either switch sides and cast their ballots for Donald Trump, or they sat the election out entirely. And I have yet to see any real self-reflection from the Democratic machine, the Democratic establishment.
None.
Democratic leadership is
agreed. I
embarrassing.
got to bring you in here, though, in a second. That the person who typically has been the idea, the encapsulation of the working class champion, is Bernie Sanders, right? He's a Democratic socialist from Vermont. He and AOC are going to now barnstorm through red districts in red states in America. That's the latest plan. When you respond to one of Bernie's events, you get an email saying, thank you for responding, here's your invitation to come. And it tells people to wear masks for outdoor events. It still does that. That's not where working class Americans who are in factories and in hospitals and who are driving Ubers are right now, Nina. It's completely buying into the same progressive elite that Anna's talking about.
I want to expand what we mean by working class. We should be talking about working class people from all identities, because the last time I checked, there are working class people from all identities. Now, Bill Maher, I mean, we should not be, God bless him and his success and all of that, but we shouldn't be taking advice from Bill Maher. He's not out in the streets talking to the big mamas and the big papas across this country. When Norfolk Southern, by way of example, poisoned, you remember East Palestine, Ohio.
Sure, we were there.
Overwhelmingly white working class. I went there. And you know what their biggest surprise was? Not that I'm African American, it's obvious, and that community is majority white working class. It was just that a Democrat came to see about them. And when I talked to those people, though, and shame on the women of The View who basically said they got what they deserved because they voted for Donald Trump in a previous election, that is wrong all day long, and I admonished them for that. I think it was Joy Behar to be. But I'm using this as an example because in their pain, they were not asking for less government. They wanted more government. They wanted the government to step up and punish Norfolk and restore their community. The reason why I'm saying that we should not be listening to Bill Maher is because he's not out in the streets among the people.
The truth. In the last election, many working-class Americans who used to vote Democrat either voted for Trump or didn't vote at all. And the Democratic leaders haven't really done anything to figure out why. They haven't changed their approach. Bernie Sanders has been a voice for working-class people, fighting for things like better wages and health care. He and AOC are trying to get support in red states, but the problem is that when you sign up for Bernie's events, they still tell you to wear a mask at an outdoor event. Most working-class people don't care about that anymore. People like factory workers, Uber drivers, and nurses have moved on. It feels like they're talking to rich progressives, not everyday people. When we talk about the working class, we need to remember it includes all kinds of people, no matter their race or background. Working-class people are not just one group. As for Bill Maher, he's successful, but he's not in touch with regular people. He's not out there with them. For example, after the Norfolk Southern disaster in East Palestine, Ohio, people there were surprised. Not that I'm black, but that a Democrat actually showed up. That shows how out of touch the party is. When I spoke to them, they didn't want less government. They wanted more. They wanted the government to step in, punish the company responsible, and help rebuild. And I have to call out people like Joy Behar from The View, who said those people deserved it because they voted for Trump. That's not empathy. That's elitism. The bottom line is, the Democratic Party won't win back the working class by listening to people on TV. They need to get out there, show up for everyone, and actually care about their problems. If they don't, more people will stop paying attention to them or give up on them completely.